pages. Tweet deck.
And we're live. Polygon 15.
And I'm back in the studio for probably a rare night. Typically, I'm not in this location, but because of severe weather tomorrow, I am back in the studio.
Yes, we're gonna have severe weather tomorrow. Oh, by the way, it's Friday, June 13th. It's Friday the 13th. We probably broke mothers' backs. We probably stepped on cracks, black cats. You know what happened? Sorry, go ahead.
I did notice when I watched Wake Up with Al this morning on the Weather Channel, our Local on the 8th, they had a special Local on the 8th theme for. I could probably bring it up here.
I don't know what was going on today. I hit a bird on the way home, and I've never done that. I'm like, what?
Oh, so much dust. Oh, boy.
I have dust on this thing, too. That's going to get us a lot of viewers. But we're still waiting for our guest, who I'm going to invite one more time.
Because I'm noticing we have a line of storms up in Minnesota, but nothing down here at this point.
Yeah, we can just go through the local stuff before Tom gets on here.
Well, we have a moderate risk of severe thunderstorms. What the heck?
I'm sorry. Sorry, that was the X-rated portion of the broadcast. What the heck was that? I don't think that's on the. Oh, good grief. Okay, well, I just found out what the episode title is going to be now.
That was my dog, for the record.
Well, the rear end of it.
Oh,
the back
Lord.
end. Do not show that again.
I'm just making sure that I'm going to shut the mouse off, so I'm hoping it won't do that again.
God. Well, there's our first big bugaboo for today. Let's see if I'm getting any messages saying I can't get the invite. Where is it? I don't know where it is. Blah 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 blah.
Oh, I should probably. I don't need this keyboard anymore. Oh my God.
But we're still waiting, everybody. Did you tweet out that we're live? We must have. We're getting people to watch this. Anybody who missed the first about 2 or 3 minutes of this video, you need to go back and look at it. It got funny and weird at the same time just a minute or two ago. So just slide the slider back about a minute or two before, and you'll understand why.
Yes, you can see my dog.
Well, not a very good. Well, we'll save it for those who want to go back. So, but that's the title. That'll be the title.
Is live at.
Well, we'll just say what would be that would be a good title, but I can't think of a good the doggy's rear end or something. I mean, where is this? The X-rated? We're getting X-rated titles. I don't think we can use that.
It was just a picture of my dog. Oh boy, the dust in this place is just strenuous.
Okay.
Let's see if we can bring this over just. Is he having trouble getting in here?
Yes. No.
Well, we'll consider this to be free.
He's in here now.
Oh, he is.
Now can he hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Indeed, you can.
Hey, well, 20 minutes ago, this thing wasn't working properly, so we're doing better now.
Nice. I had some video quality issues also with this, so I just want to make sure that my lips are matching with the audio. Is that
It
happening?
is.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Sweet. Awesome.
We've already started, and we've already seen X-rated portions of this broadcast.
Oh, gosh.
That was the first 2-3 minutes, so you didn't get to see that part.
Probably happy I missed that, huh?
Between saying the weather is nice and seeing a picture on Henry's computer screen behind him, which is the art.
It was my dog.
The rear end of it.
Sounds like Jeff is making it out to be something worse than it was, huh?
Oh, it's worse. But I've been out all day taping stuff, and I'm all kind of tired out today, driving everywhere. But it was so nice to do it today up here because it was in the 70s, no humidity, the wind was nice and calm. Unfortunately, down there you're not going to get that until September.
Yeah.
So
we should have a nice day tomorrow. High pressure is going to give us dew points in the 50s, so it's not terrible.
yeah, tomorrow here, moderate risk of severe weather. So yeah,
Perfect.
Now we're getting all of your weather the last week here.
Yeah. I was trying to wonder how you guys somehow scheduled this very appropriately to talk to somebody from West Tennessee the week after we had dealt with such crazy weather. So you planned that really well.
We had people from on the anniversary of April 27th, and we did that perfectly. We had gosh, what was it? And the same person. We do pretty well with our groupings.
We've actually had people from Tennessee for the past
this is the third week in a row of Tennessee. We're Tennessee'd out.
Way to go, Tennessee.
We're doing Tennessee week here on Polygon.
Tennessee week, more like Tennessee month.
Tennessee month, yeah, Tennessee month.
All we need is somebody from Nashville, and we'd have everybody covered.
Hey, there you go.
But
well, I'm not a Tennessean by blood. I'm a Tennessean at trade, if you will.
Yeah, you're from New York, right?
That's right. You got it. Yep.
I had to look that up. So
yeah, I'm trying to keep my non-regional diction going pretty well, so I don't have any accent per se.
Yeah. So, but this is our guest. He is stuck in the middle between us. It's Tom Miners or Meaners or Mainers or whatever. How do you say it?
The first one, you got it perfectly. Yep.
Oh, it's Miners. So the first E is silent.
Yeah.
And he's the go-to guru chief meteorologist at WBBJ Channel 7, the ABC and CBS affiliate in Jackson, Tennessee. And I think that's the only station there besides other tiny low-power stations. But
we've got there used to be a cable station in a town not too far from here, Dyersburg. That has since ceased to exist. So we've got this affiliate here in Jackson, and then the closest one is in Memphis. So
yeah.
We're kind of, our main competition is the big stations there in Memphis and Nashville for West Tennessee stories. So
yeah, and we'll get to, because Henry has all this stuff lined up, and we're not going to get to it. But isn't it kind of hard that stations in Memphis covered Jackson, but then you can't cover Memphis? Doesn't that kind of make it hard? I know when you were doing your stuff, you were putting out warnings for all the way to Shelby County, where Memphis is, to give people fair warning.
I think that I probably do that, Jeff, because this isn't true. This is not like a law or anything. But I would have to guess that most people, if they're going to commute, are probably commuting from Jackson to Memphis instead of the other way around. You know what I'm saying? So I'll put out a warning, like a flash flood warning like we had for Shelby County yesterday, in case people know people in that area that might be coming home or something like that, just so that they're kept up to date with what the weather's doing in the Memphis area. So.
Or if people were going to the Casey Jones thing.
Oh yeah, it's true. We got Casey Jones Museum here in Jackson.
My mother went there with her half sister.
Crazy. Cool.
But yeah, because I have relatives in Memphis. I have relatives outside Nashville. Oh, it's cool. A mess. But so I know your market's one of the smallest.
Yep, we are tiny.
Markets, it's like how many
177.
counties are actually in it? Like 4 or 5 or something like that?
Well, our DMA, yeah, is pretty limited. That's for just people who can get us on antenna. We're limited to about maybe a 5-county area or something like that. Um, Let me see, actually. I could probably get an exact answer for you here. Yeah, we're pretty limited to maybe about a 5 or 6 county area. I mean, Jackson is in a county called Madison County, and the county just to the west of us, Haywood County, is technically Memphis's DMA and not ours. But people can carry us in the 6 states around our area on cable. People have been reported of being able to see us on anywhere from western Kentucky to northwest Alabama. They can see us on cable sometimes. So probably depends on the weather, whether or not they're able to catch us, but we
Yeah.
can be seen in a lot of areas.
And now Henry is getting fussy because he wants me to. So I'm supposed to introduce myself. I'm the host.
Hey, host.
I'm tired. Everybody knows me. This is the 15th episode, or issuance, because we call them issuances only because it sounds cooler.
Sure.
Henry, do you want to introduce yourself? As if anybody doesn't, except for Tom. Tom doesn't know who you are, but everybody else knows who you are. And we can't hear you, Henry. You turned your sound off.
I'm testing this new headset thing, and it's.
Yeah, this won't be a good episode. We're testing new stuff today.
Oh yeah, we've already had a fun episode, I think. I'm the lead forecaster at the network. I work alongside Jeff, and we do the live coverage, and I'm just the other Polygon host, and I'm the one that gets all of our guests, pretty much.
No, I got this one.
You did.
Congratulations.
You got last week's. I have this one in next week's, and then you took everybody in July. except the one after the 4th of July. I got that one too. But so we're gonna get this in order.
All right.
We already did the current weather. That included the dog's rear end.
Okay.
So we already did the introductions. Unless, Tom, you want to just continue as to where you came from, and then we'll get to how did you get into weather, which seems like an appropriate subject to get into. So
Yeah. Should I go ahead?
Just start from the beginning.
All right. Beginning was 5 years old. I'm in my house. I lived in kind of a 1-floor apartment in New York. Lived on the North Shore of Long Island. So 5 years old, North Shore of Long Island. Severe thunderstorm comes through. Lightning hits somewhere on the property. My first reaction, call the police. Call 911 and think that's the best option to do. Of course, now I know that's not a good idea. And it said you call the National Weather Service when something like that happens. So that was my first, I call it first severe weather report, first Skywarn storm spotter reporting when I was 5. But I wasn't really interested in doing TV weather. So I grew up, spent 17 years on Long Island, 30 miles outside of the city, or 26 miles outside of the city, and then decided to study weather because my favorite thing to do in middle school and high school was try to forecast if the next day was going to be a snow day or not. So that was my next favorite thing. I'm sure you guys get those kind of snow days up there in Iowa. But.
2.
Oh yeah, plenty of them.
They just ended school here in some school districts yesterday.
And that's because they had to do extra days, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unlike Henry, who is of school age, will tell you that, his last day was the last day of May, right, Henry?
Yeah, we were supposed to go a little bit into June, but apparently we had some extra time that legally we could use even though we didn't go to school those days, conferences, I guess.
Yeah.
So we got cut off to the end of May, which we had. I mean, we didn't have any too big events per se. More so, just a lot of little spurts. Some icing problems. I remember.
But we had a lot of snow that just kept piling up and piling up and piling up, and then they couldn't keep up.
Oh, okay.
And it was so annoying. And it's to the point toward the end of the year they would start closing school for 2 or 3 inches of snow because they ran out of salt, they ran out of sand in February. And so every little snowstorm that hit, they closed school because they couldn't salt and sand the roads. So it was. So I can understand a Long Island would be like anytime it snows, you would assume unless it's a nor'easter, you're probably going to school no matter what unless it's a nor'easter.
Yeah, I remember well the blizzard of '96 that we had in New York, and I remember even we had some pretty bad snowstorms even when I was in high school. But that was it. That was what got me into weather, was just being curious about how it worked and how to forecast it. So I went to NC State, North Carolina State University in Raleigh. Loved it there. But even the first 2 years, I even had somebody job shadowing to me today, and I was telling them after my sophomore fall semester, I wanted to drop out of meteorology. I didn't want to do meteorology anymore because I was being weeded out essentially by the courses that were just. I was having a difficult time keeping up with the chemistry, the physics, and the calculus. I was really having a hard time with it, and it took that following summer for me to intern with WABC in New York City under Bill Evans and Lee Goldberg, the meteorologist at the ABC affiliate in New York, to really just kind of get all of a sudden captivated by broadcast television. I'll never forget a couple of events that I had with both of those men there. From one of them was just doing the circus, doing the doing the weather live from the circus at the Bailey and Barnum Circus on Coney Island in New York. That was just kind of cool. That was just kind of cool to do. And then also remember doing severe weather coverage with Lee. And I remember he was asking me over the air, like as an intern, what time a warning was going to end. And I was just kind of like, I felt so cool that my voice was on TV. So after that internship, I decided TV was what I wanted to aim for. Went back into weather after trying to major in computer science and take Java, and then Java killed me, even though I aced Fortran. So I decided to go back and study meteorology, took all the courses I needed to, and finished with that bachelor's degree in meteorology from NC State. So just, I mean, I just loved it after that. After that internship, I was like, I can do this. I can definitely, you know, make this work. And so May 2012 graduated. My first job out of college was working at Cornell University's cooperative extension program, where they do some research, and they were doing some marine research outside of my home on Long Island, where I was working on fishing ships in the Long Island Sound once a week. So that was kind of cool to go on some fishing ships before I finally moved to Jackson. And I'll have been here 2 years from 3 weeks from now. So I started out in the mornings doing weather here, and then worked my way from mornings to do the evening weather. And I've been doing the evening shift from April or early May of last year. So I've been doing the evenings for a year, and then was promoted to chief in October of last year. So that's about it.
Yeah, so there was a certain person at NC State who was a guest on our program earlier. So
Okay.
how do you rate the Professor Nate Johnson?
Yeah.
Because Nate will probably watch this. Well, probably not, but we'll make him watch it.
Yeah, Nate is great. He was an incredible mentor to me because he was the kind of pioneer for starting to teach a new course at NC State for broadcast meteorology that I was kind of confused as to whether there was really a lot of push from the rest of the department for that, but he was definitely very insistent on the existence of this program, of the existence of a broadcast meteorology class, and he and a lot of other folks at NC State worked really hard to make that happen. So it was very inspiring, and that I was in the first class that he specifically taught, and now this is probably in, I guess this next fall semester will be the third year, I'm thinking third or fourth year, but it was an excellent class. He taught us, you know, a lot about how social science and the specific science of meteorology interact, and how they've always been that way, but now I think that the fact that Facebook and Twitter and the internet, no less, are more popular these days, are allowing those two sciences to interact a lot more closely together. And so I'm sure, as you guys are, I'm an avid follower of Weather Brains as well, so I love listening to, you know, new shows and stories about how that social science is becoming more important in weather today. So yeah, he's good. 2 thumbs up. Yeah. So.
Now, I'll let Henry ask a question unless he wants me to continue.
Okay.
You can continue. I'm just kind of observing
Okay.
here.
Now, when we talk about social science,
Yeah.
well, we get into this point that we both use on our network. We use Twitter and Facebook, but we've had the problem, and a lot of other people have had too, where Facebook, it's that ad rank or whatever thing where the ranking thing where we don't get hardly 5 to 10% of our total likes even seeing our posts, and that it just drives me nuts. Unlike Twitter, which you get it, but the problem is Twitter's not as popular. Facebook has more people, but you're getting less people. So, what is your opinion on what you do at your station via the Twitter or Facebook for putting out weather, not just severe weather, but like forecasts and whatnot?
Right. No, I understand completely. The Facebook algorithm for their reach is a very complicated one. However, like we talked about earlier, we said that there's maybe only like 5 or 6 counties in our DMA that catch us on antenna. Now, there's a lot of people that can see us on cable, but not everybody has cable. Not everybody even has a computer in West Tennessee. So the way that I've looked at it for now, Jeff, is that I've tried to start dating my posts a lot better, so that it says, if I am putting out a forecast or a warning, that I'll actually start it with the text that says I put this out at 5:31 p.m. And so that way, if people are going back to my page wondering why they didn't see the warning, then they can see that it didn't have anything to do with me, but at least it had something to do with Facebook's, output. I sympathize with you greatly. However, I am putting warnings on Facebook, and I hear a lot of people aren't doing that as much anymore because of Facebook's, issue with getting those posts out. I'm still kind of doing that for now. I get a lot of people messaging me that say that they're thankful for my updates and things like that because they couldn't see me on TV or, for whatever reason. So I'll let their reasons be their own, but I'll just kind of try to keep doing what I do, which is just getting those warnings out and those posts out. We at WBBJ are subscribed to Baron Graphics from, Huntsville. You may be familiar with them, but we've been kind of talking to them about how maybe they might be looking into putting out some sort of automated service sometime soon. And the automation I use now for Twitter, which I had to use this past weekend when I was away from all the severe weather, is still kind of very cryptic in a sense. So I'm hoping for something better to come soon so that automation can be possible so that I don't have to be all over Facebook, Google+, Twitter, Instagram, and stuff like that. Because I'm usually a one-man band if I am here anyway. So.
Yeah, we kind of do the same thing at the network. We have a software. It's called Weather Message. I'm not sure what you use.
INWS.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, our own software here, I mean, it is very complicated to set up, but once you get it running, it is very functional. I mean, this computer, I mean, it's always on, and it grabs a stream of satellite stream, the Emergency Manager Weather Information Network, and it pretty much just ingests all of the products about as fast as INWS does. And we used INWS for a long time, but once we found Weather Message, it was really good. It does good text posts, and there's a lot of different variables you can put in. At the end of the message of the text products, it's a lot like NWS chat that you use, I'm sure. It does messages similar to that, but it allows you to customize it, and it can do pretty much anything. I mean, we have it set up so we'll send to Facebook, Twitter, and it will do that in a timely manner. And you're right, we should probably be putting the time on our posts, as I don't want to cut off the warnings to Facebook and Twitter because it's been around for a long time, and if it goes away, I mean, some people actually depend on our pages and stations to get those warnings and watches. And I mean, you would rather, I mean, just because you're not getting many views from it doesn't mean you're getting none.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
some people are seeing it, so it's better than nothing, I guess.
That's a great point. Yeah. All that matters is at least somebody seeing it. Yeah. I agree.
But then the thing is, when poor Henry had to do our weather message, he had to put in all 99 counties in Iowa.
Yikes.
You only have 6.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you'll be done in like 2 minutes. It took,
Yeah.
I think, Henry, how long did it take, Henry, to get the website
I mean,
set
it
up?
depends on the kind of work that you're doing. I mean, I learn along the way. The software, I mean, at first it seems really complicated, but then you get into it a bit more, and it's really simple to do because you get used to it. But I mean, doing overhauls and stuff, I mean, if you're doing a lot of changes,
Mm-hmm.
that can take a while, but it's definitely worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Like our chat room, we have our own chat room at the network. That's all powered by this software, and it's really useful. It was only $80 for us to purchase, which is
Mm-hmm.
very cheap. And it only requires an always-on computer. And once you get it set up, it's really nice to use on all the different outlets of information.
Nice. Very cool.
See, he's weather message is gonna get billed this advertisement.
Hey, I think Weather Message needs to give us some like discount
Royalties.
for our software
Yeah.
for giving them the props in our. Here, I'll make them my shout out later on.
Yeah, yeah. Weather message. We're gonna send them a bill.
Right.
But is there any? Now you said you've been at WBBJ for roughly almost 2 years.
Yep.
But you probably have heard of all the excitement that happened prior to your arrival.
Yeah.
That Jackson, Tennessee is like the tornado hotspot of West Tennessee, and there's been all these nasty tornadoes that luckily you weren't around to see, but I'm sure you've heard the stories about all the tornadoes that seem to go to Union University on the northwest side of Jackson and decide to hit the place.
Yeah, it was hit at least once. I know that.
I know, yeah, the super outbreak, the 2008 Super Tuesday outbreak, Union University got hit.
Yes.
In 2000, I think 3 downtown got hit.
2003, yes. Yep. 1999 was another year as well.
What is Jackson like a? Did somebody make the Jackson people in that town make Mother Nature mad or something?
Here's a. I'm gonna try and do a screen share with you guys real quick. Is that cool?
That's fine.
Yeah.
This is a map I'm trying to pull up here. You may accidentally see my radar for a second. Here is a map of the. Oh no, still not working. Hold on a sec. I'm gonna try and get this to work.
Ooh, the inside's good stuff.
Don't look at that. I'm gonna try and get it maybe a little bit, but anyways, the tornado database shows, I mean, a wide swath of tornadoes across West Tennessee for the past, couple of centuries here. But Jackson's hardest hit tornadoes came through in 1999, and then also in 2003 and 2008. That was the one that hit in 2008 was the EF4 tornado that hit through Union University, and that is a tornado. Yeah, we hear a lot about. That was still about now 6 years ago. So I think that there's still kind of like it's fizzling out a little bit, but there still remains a lot of kind of like people who will panic when they hear tornado warning or tornado watch is even issued for the area. But as I understand it, the most recent event, 2008, was a nighttime storm. It came through in February 5th, no less. And of course, we think of most severe weather events happening between March and maybe May. So this one caught people maybe by surprise in the long-term forecast, but the meteorologist who was here at the time, meteorologist Mike McAvoy, did a great job at keeping people safe. There were no deaths at the school at Union University. So this is, I mean, that's an amazing unit of itself. And EF4 tornado comes through, hits a school dead on, and there's no deaths. Sure, there were injuries, and I know still people today, friends of mine here in Jackson, who are injured by it. But it's kind of, it is still something that people talk about now.
And is there any other events prior or even during your time in Jackson that you can tell our viewers about? I'm sure last week is probably one of them.
Yeah, last week was kind of a very some people may say it's something that maybe something they are a little superstitious about, because I was out of town. I was taking a vacation because my sister-in-law was getting married, so I wasn't here from Wednesday through Sunday. Came back Sunday, and so I was covering Facebook and Twitter. I was doing my part there, even though I was on vacation. But our meteorologist who does the weekends, Eric Taylor, was here he was on air for 5 hours straight, at least 5 hours, maybe a little bit more, covering severe weather, tornado warnings, which we had an EF1 tornado reported that came out of that. But unfortunately, a lot of West Tennessee is kind of a radar dead area. In fact, just for an example, we were on air for 5 hours to cover a tornado that ended up being an EF1. Not to mention the fact that we still had, wind gusts over 60 miles per hour. We had severe thunderstorm warnings all over the place. But then back in April this year, 28th, we had an EF2 tornado that we didn't have any watches or warnings for. So kind of goes to show you that there's a little bit of a difference there in how our coverage was taking place. We saw that there was some rotation. There wasn't a warning, but that tornado was on the ground for 10 minutes. So it was a really short tornado. Maybe prior to this year, my first year, I was able to count the number of days that I was on doing severe weather coverage for. And I'll remember the first one was on September 1st when Hurricane Isaac came through the Gulf Coast, and it sparked a tornado warning for Northwest Tennessee. That was when we had an EF3 tornado, though. That was in southeast Missouri in the Boot Heel. Up until then, we've had some tornadoes come through, some confirmed tornadoes. One of the ones that I'll remember was, I may get this wrong, I think that was January 30th of 2013. That was a very late night. That was doing wall-to-wall severe weather coverage from like midnight to 4 or 5 a.m. And that was a tornado that affected Fayette County in southwest Tennessee. And again, I'm going to go away for a second, I'll be right back. But I mentioned that we do severe weather coverage for our DMA, but we do it for a lot of West Tennessee that, again, just carries us on cable. So we've got a policy set up for certain counties here. So for, like, example, Fayette County, we were still on air even though on this map you can see all of the red counties in West Tennessee. Those are the ones that we go on air for tornado warnings. Fayette County's here in the southwest corner. We were still on air for that tornado because I think parts of Madison County were warned there, maybe even Hardeman County. So we were there for the warning, but there was a tornado that came through and moved a church off its foundation like 10 feet. So we were there for that one as well. That was another day, January 30th. That was also the same event that produced the Mount Juliet tornado in Middle Tennessee, just east of Nashville. Aside from that, I'm trying to think now, maybe aside from severe weather, I'll put it this way, another really memorable event so far for me, even though it's recent, has been the March 2nd and 3rd winter storm that we had. And I'll always remember that because I remember trying to drive home later that night almost resulted in me crashing on the side of the road because there was so much sleet and so much ice on the ground. So that's another one. And that was one we actually didn't do severe weather coverage per se for. We kind of did a show, a special show designated to that. And we had another show designated to that in early December for another event. So those are the ones I can think off the top of my head right now. There have been a lot of other days we've done severe weather coverage, but those are the ones I can call to mind.
The first thing when we go back to the tornado that wasn't warned for, and Henry knows which one I'm talking about, is that tornado we had earlier this year up here, and I've mentioned this on like half of our episodes. We had an an EF2 tornado. Wasn't warned for until the very end. It was on the ground for 46 miles, and it killed 2 people.
Wow.
The people that were killed were never warned.
Oof.
So, I mean, and that's our longest tornado track in Iowa this year so far.
Yeah.
We've had, I lost count, I think 12 or 13 so far, but and the EF2 I think was EF3 was our strongest. No. EF2, EF3, somewhere. EF2 was, there's been a few EF2s.
There was, I'm looking now, yeah, that was the only EF2.
The end of that tornado was warned for, but then they did
Well,
it
actually,
tough ground
um,
because it was rain wrapped. It was in a
Jeff,
squall line, so
45.6 mile wide tornado. That was an EF1.
no, 45.6 mile long, not wide. Oh my goodness, 45-mile wide tornado. That would take out everything.
Though we've had one EF2 this year. That was the one over.
Was that one?
That was west of, I think, near Guthrie Center.
Oh yeah, the Lake Panorama one. Yeah, so the 45-mile one was an EF1.
Yeah,
it
and
still killed 2 people.
Yeah, I see the Weather Service. I mean, sometimes the verification. I mentioned this a lot in our episodes, and honestly, the verification, you really have to. I mean, they're trying to keep the verification numbers, keep that percentage high, because I mean, there's been a lot of events where if it does, say there's a tornado warning issued and it doesn't verify, that decreases the public confidence in tornado warnings. Same with severe thunderstorm warnings. No one listens to those. I mean, the verification rate, unless you've been directly impacted in the past, they probably won't do anything. And I'm guessing, I can't remember what the velocity looked like on that. I mean, Jeff probably knows.
The 45-mile long one.
Yeah, the one that wasn't.
It was a spin-up squall line. The ones that, why do you warn for spin-ups on squall lines? But the problem is that spin-up stayed on the ground for 45 miles, which was an oddity.
And if I remember right, there was weak broad rotation all along that line.
Until the end, when it started to get stronger. But I think, like Tom said earlier, southeast Iowa, where it started near Tumwa, is in a dead zone. The beams are too high, and I've complained about that for a long time, that northeast Missouri, southeast Iowa is like, the only way you should issue tornado warnings there is if it's on the ground. But the problem is, if it's on the ground, it's already hit somebody. So
it's kind of similar up in my area, up in north central Iowa and south central Minnesota. That's the real dead zone, because we're right in the middle of the borderline between La Crosse, Sioux Falls, Minneapolis, and Des Moines. We're right in the middle of all that. And I mean, there's I mean, at that point there's rotation, and how do you know which rotations are going to produce tornadoes? I mean, there's broad rotation all along that line, and radar wasn't being too conclusive on whether there was, better rotation than the rest.
Yeah.
At that point.
And you can't just go on and say, okay, because I can easily see what's going to happen now. There was this tiny little notch, which was a good indicator there was something that might have been there.
Sure.
But now what's going to end up happening is they pretty much screwed up. And now it's not just Des Moines, because this tornado started in the Des Moines CWA, and it went into the Quad Cities CWA. They didn't issue, the Avonport or the Quad Cities didn't issue a tornado warning until toward the end of the line. What's now going to happen is every time they see something similar, you're going to see tornado warnings everywhere, because they missed one and it killed 2 people. So now they're going to issue a bunch. So we're going to get a lot of false things again. I'm hoping not, but I mean, they're going to catch the big tornadoes. But the problem is, this was an EF1 and it killed 2 people. So, I mean, now, because I've heard them saying, well, we'll catch the big ones. So what's going to end up happening? The big ones won't kill people, but now the small ones will. So then you're going to have all the deadly tornadoes be EF0s and 1s and 2s, and it's and I think last year we had a fatality in Iowa. I think it was last year. Yes. And that was, no, it was 2 years ago. And that was from an EF1 or an EF2. I mean, the last time we had deaths in anything over an EF3 was 2008, and that was Parkersburg. That was an EF5, and that only killed 9 people. So.
That has to be the most, I mean.
That's the deadliest. That's the,
yeah,
well,
deadliest.
No, I take that back. The Little Sioux Boy Scout tornado, which was 2 weeks after that killed those Boy Scouts, but that was an EF4.
Yeah, but that, I mean, the Parkersburg, New Hartford.
That was the last EF5.
That has to be one, at least in the top, I don't know how many, most destructive tornadoes Iowa has ever seen. I mean, I don't know history too well on past tornadoes, but that
It's
has
not
to
even.
be.
It's not even in the top 20 in fatalities. It's not even in the top.
And that's
It's not even
probably.
in the
I
top
mean,
10 in May.
you gotta give National Weather Service and Des Moines props for that because they issued
Yeah.
warnings well in advance of that line. I mean, they saw broad rotation and saw that, and they issued the warnings, and they got people to shelter. And I mean, you can't prevent all. I mean,
Yeah.
that is probably one of the most destructive. I mean, data-wise, I mean that's the most. The radar data from that really shocked me because the
Yeah.
rotation in that was just absolutely horrendous. And they got the warning out, and you can't prevent every. Because there are some homes, especially down in Oklahoma, there are some homes that just aren't built to withstand a tornado. Even if you're in a basement, some destructive tornadoes can't.
There's a lot of mobile
They,
homes
they,
in Tennessee too.
they won't protect you always.
Yeah. Something that I'm working on, hopefully, while I'm here in Jackson, and trying to help my family out here, I guess, my proverbial family, is trying to see if there was any way possible for Tennessee to consider a rebate program for shelters. And Oklahoma has that, I believe. I saw a story by a meteorologist there saying something about how a $2,500 shelter costs you $600 because of the rebates you get on your taxes from having one. And Mississippi had one, used to have it, but I don't think they have the rebate program anymore because I haven't really picked a side on which one I think is more effective, a community storm shelter or having residential private owned storm shelters. But seems like having a private owned storm shelter that's affordable is probably the best bet. I'm not sure.
I mean, it saves the city, especially if it's in a really poor part of the South. I mean, they don't even have money sometimes to spend that on a tornado shelter. So sometimes the community shelters, I mean, there's the pros of that. It costs less and it can fit more people. But then again, you have to look at, is that safer or less safer than a residential storm shelter?
Right.
There's pros and cons to both sides of it.
We need to get Tom. We need to get him or Tom a hold of Dan Threlkeld, who runs a tornado shelter business.
Oh yeah.
He used to be a TV meteorologist in Tulsa for a long time, and he was on our show, episode 10.
Oh, cool.
We have everybody on our show.
That's pretty good.
So.
Pretty good. But yeah, that's why Tennessee is one of the deadliest states for tornadoes, is just because there's no shelter.
And is it because most of the tornadoes occur at night in Tennessee, it seems like?
That's a really good question, Jeff. I was looking at a climatology report from Memphis, the Memphis Weather Office here, and a lot of them do happen at night, but still most of them happen probably in like the 5 to 7 o'clock hour. That's when most of them happen. So they can happen at night though, and yes, those do end up resulting in deaths still. So.
And it's not like up here where here you can see the tornado coming, whereas in quite a bit of Tennessee, there's quite a bit of trees around. I mean, it's not like it's the forest of all, except in eastern Tennessee it is, but middle and western Tennessee, there's trees, but it's not like a forest around, but your sight distance is a little harder.
Yeah.
Than it would be, like, say, up here.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's as flat, maybe, as parts of Iowa either.
I was not in the flat part of Iowa today.
So, but yeah, I guess that those are a couple of reasons why. But it's a shame. But you're right, Henry. There's always going to be some issues. There's only so much we can do to prevent deaths, and that's what we just have to try to do. Is just do our best to get that word out. So.
Yeah, I mean.
He's got his mic muted again.
It's improved a lot over the years. Sorry, I had the stupid headset. It's improved a lot over the years. I mean, the fatalities and injuries that I think have pretty much dropped dramatically from what it used to be, and that's because of the advancement in new technology, radar advancements, new learning techniques, and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, you can't prevent everything, but the numbers are lower than what they used to be, and that's always a better thing. I mean, you try to prevent every single death, and sometimes you just can't do that. Sometimes they don't always have ways to get warnings. They don't have weather radios or televisions or radios. Sometimes it's plain at night. They're in their bedroom. They can't hear a tornado siren. They have their phones off, or powers out. Television doesn't work. Radio doesn't work, and they're sleeping. And this tornado's coming to their house. And the tornado sirens are outdoor warning sirens. They're not meant to be heard inside. So I mean, with that, you have to make. You can't. You try your best to get the word out to them, but sometimes they have to tune in or be ready if something severe weather is likely. And that tornado watches, severe thunderstorm watches, they try to get that issued way in advance of an event, especially if it's going to be an overnight event. Get those issued in the evening so they know, and get themselves prepared so they're not sleeping and have a tornado hit their house.
Yeah. Interesting note actually about those sirens. There's 47 of those in Madison County, and every time like thunderstorms come through, at least one of them is going to get struck by lightning, and so then they have to go out and repair that and fix that. But then, go ahead.
They must have lightning rods on the sirens. It's like, oh, let's get rid of another one.
And I mean, same thing with NOAA weather radio. We could debate about that all we want, but I swear there's at least one transmitter that goes out during a severe weather event every time.
Yeah. Sometimes they go out the day before a severe weather event. They've done that before.
You always have to have multiple ways to get warnings. You have to have no weather radio, of course. That's your best option, and then possibly cell phones, television, radio. If it's a daytime event, you should be monitoring that. And if there's a watch in effect, you should just be watching the skies. Have multiple ways to get warning. And I mean, the outreach for that has done a lot. I mean, people are getting those weather radios. They're finally figuring it out, saying, hey, this tornado could hit our house. Let's be ready for it. They're putting into place tornado action plans and stuff like that. The outreach and preparedness has really improved along with the technology over the years, which is the best thing that we can do.
Yeah, definitely seems that way. Really interested to see how this new type of radar technology improves our radar scans, the sails, new scans. I'm really interested to see how that works.
Yeah, we already have it. Des Moines and Omaha both have it.
Yeah,
cool. I mean, what have you found then?
We're so excited. We get scans every 2 minutes. We're so thrilled.
I mean, the scans are really faster, as Jeff said. The data.
I believe, Henry, sorry to interrupt. I think they're able to now start to be able to pinpoint tornadoes faster and issue warnings quicker. Because we've already had an event with sales already.
And I mean, there were some problems with sales early in the release of them. I mean, the beta test sites, that's a good thing they have beta, because there were a lot of problems with them early. I mean, they installed sales at these sites, and the level 2 high resolution streams were getting the sales sweeps, but the level 3 data streams were not. I mean, it's a good thing they had those beta test sites, because they had a lot of issues early, but they've really fixed them up. And I'm actually looking now, and I can kind of show you here if I can bring this up.
More excitement.
Because I mean, it only works in precipitation mode, which is clearly smart, because you want better sensitivity on the non-precip mode sites, but it's really nice. The quicker scans, we can identify those rotation a little bit better, and I mean, just get the word out quicker, which is, of course, what
it makes it look a lot better when you get the 2-minute scans, or even less than 2 minutes, and you can see. And I saw this. I think, gosh, what was it? I think it's in Tulsa. I saw a rotation, and they had sales. I think they did, and you could see the entire rotation spinning in circles as it was moving to the southeast. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've never seen that. You could see the whole thing going in circles, instead of just seeing a rotation, the green against the red, and kind of going like this, it was like spinning around. I was like, ooh, this is new.
Nice.
So you pretty much knew there was something there.
Yeah,
I don't think they
yeah.
ever said there was a tornado, but it sure looked like one.
Right
And
now,
you can see it die real fast. Sorry.
I don't have the latest version of our Gibson Ridge programs because I had to downgrade for a reason. That's a long story for another day. But yeah, we can get these extra sweeps here in our tilt menu, and it's very quicker. I mean, we get 2 minutes, sometimes even 1 minute scans of the, and nothing. I mean, there was no problems with it. The velocity is about the same. It's only with reflectivity right at this point. But I mean, even that really helps out when identifying tornadoes and stuff like that.
Right. Very interesting.
When is Memphis going to get sales? Do you know? Never.
I mean, it might be on a schedule. I've seen that list, but I would prefer, if anything, and I know this kind of goes along with our conversation about Dead Zone, but I prefer if Memphis somehow got another radar instead of the sales.
Yeah, I think there needs to be like 15 more radars put around the country.
Yeah.
Like one in southeast Iowa, northeast Missouri, one in Jackson, one by where Henry is up by Mason City where he lives near. I mean, there's some areas where the lowest the beam is of any of the radars close is like 8,000 to 10,000 feet.
Wow.
Luckily for me, where I live, the closest radar, which is the Quad Cities, since I live in the eastern part of Iowa, the beam is about a mile up. That's pretty good. It's a little under a mile, about 5,000 feet. Well, that's as good as it's going to get. So
the last new radar they put up was in Langley Hill, Washington, back in 2012. And I mean, they're going to try to put those radar sites up as they get the funds for that. But right now, I mean,
Washington State, all they're going to get is rain. Well, at least it's going somewhere. Rain.
We'll probably end up getting a radar at the station before Memphis gets a radar, a new radar. So.
Yeah, and they'll probably say, well, let's bring out the WSR 74s.
Yeah, yeah.
What are you going to call?
They could probably start using those, and you could probably get put all the stuff on 74s and see if those work.
What are you going to call the live radar at your station? The Super Doppler Doppler Radar 4000?
Well,
my gosh.
Well, it's Channel 7, so they'd have to call it 7 million watt radar or something. And it goes clear to St. Louis or something.
Who knows? It wouldn't be probably another 20 years before that even became a thought. But
because now he's going to say bad things about the TV station.
No, I'd never.
Never.
Because of the fact that the station owner used to run a bunch of radio stations up here until they sold them a couple years ago. So.
Oh, really? Bayhackle Communications?
Yeah. When Cy passed away.
Yeah.
They sold the radio stations up here in Waterloo away. But they still have their TV stations. So.
Yeah. Oh, Bayhackle's a great company. I mean, I was just in the right place at the right time, it seems like, to get to where I am now. So.
Would you move up in Bahakel's thing? Because they have stations in Montgomery and Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. No, I'm not sure.
How long do you think you're gonna want to stay? Because it seems like if people tend to just want to move.
Yeah.
And they don't get to know the people, know the geography, because that's what brings viewers. They know the person, they get, and then they're gone.
And that's a big problem. I think it really is. I mean, there is a lot to be said for people who stay long-term times in small markets, because while that might be, the way that a lot of, people getting into the broadcast business see small markets as a way to get your first foot in the door, I mean, this is a great experience for me to be in a market where I've started out as morning, now I'm a chief, and I'll be here for several more years at least. Those are things I can't, be specific on, of course, for obvious reasons, but that I think, the last guy who was here doing the mornings, he was here for 6 years. So I'll be here for probably at least that, if not more. But I think that this is a great way for me to experience, not just get my foot in the door, but get an experience for what it's like to do television weather. To also, you know, try to serve the community in a way I can outside of that. And, you know, if there was anything I could have to do with trying to see legislators in West Tennessee push for a refund program for storm shelters, then heck yeah, I'd want to be a part of that. You know, some way to kind of get some research done and try to find out how much of a help that those would be to the community. Then I want to try and serve for as long as I can while I'm here.
Now Henry put something on his screen share, and I don't know what he's doing.
It's a derecho.
Well, if we're gonna talk about weather, we might as well talk about the 1 billion storms that have been in Texas over the past couple of days. Last night they got hammered.
This will be Tom's weather tomorrow.
Thankfully, no.
Oh well, then it's going to turn and it's going to head toward you now.
Hmm.
It's so annoying. What? Hey, at least they're getting rain.
Yeah.
I don't know how bad is it wet, dry down there?
Here in West Tennessee, we are really wet. We got almost 8 inches of rain in 5 days. So.
Was it dry before that?
Oh yeah, May was really dry. So
you wouldn't say there's any drought in West Tennessee now. There's like everything is soggy. It looks like a marsh.
Yep.
All the rivers are flooding or close to or.
Yeah, we had flood warnings out for a few rivers here.
Yeah, right. It's funny. We have a few areas of moderate drought, but when I was out and about today, and I noticed this, and I hadn't discussed this with Henry yet, that the corn is coming up here, but some of it's already turning yellow again. It did this the last 2 summers where the corn started turning yellow, and it's doing it in June in some areas because we've had so many ice. Sorry to interrupt. We're having so many areas where some areas are getting like 5 inches of rain, and then other areas are getting nothing.
Yeah.
And it's so fickle. And where I am happens to be one of the areas that hasn't gotten a whole heck of a lot of rain of late. But
up in my area, we have a creek that goes by pretty much where I live, and for the past, 2012 and 2013, it is pretty much a runoff from the lake. I live in Clear Lake, Iowa, and it's this big lake, and once it pretty much overflows, it goes into this creek, and this creek has been so bone dry since probably late 2012. This year, it's full again, and that happened and we haven't experienced flooding. We haven't experienced flash flooding. It's kind of similar to this winter when we had just little spurts of snow over and over and over again until it started really piling up. That helped fill up the creek, and then now we're getting rain every other day. I mean, we haven't really experienced much flooding in Iowa. We had a couple flash flooding events.
Except 2000, we had enough flooding in 2008. Thank you. Yeah. I think we'd rather take some of that rain from 2008 and had it the last 2 years, but I'm sure Tom wouldn't have wanted to be up here this past winter where we had. I think the entire month of January was below 0 at night.
Wow.
That was not
cool.
Wind chill warnings every other day.
I think we had a wind chill warning or wind chill advisory every day in January into mid-February.
Wow.
That drove me nuts. Why issue something? It's like, by the time it's February and you're issuing it for like the 30th time, it's like, oh, make sure you wear your hat. Well, no kidding. We've been doing it for 6 months. You think we're stupid by now?
It's kind of similar to how I
so fast.
It's similar to how I feel about critical fire weather risks in New Mexico and Arizona, because every time I look at the SPC page, there is always a critical fire risk in New Mexico and Arizona.
I don't know what it'd be burning.
I say just remove Arizona and New Mexico from the map and say critical fire weather all the time. You're going to have wildfires. Don't burn anything. It gets ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay, then there's the other thing. Because I know down in West Tennessee, you get what's the wind chill warning or wind chill advisory criteria? I think wind chills are like 10, 15, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I have to look that up to be completely sure.
Whereas here, a wind chill advisory, if I'm right, is 15 below zero or 20 below.
Yeah.
And wind chill warning down there, I think, is 0
Yeah.
or something. And here, it's 30 below. Wait, and then we can compare. A snow advisory here, a winter weather advisory means about anything. Winter weather advisory down in Jackson, Tennessee means close the schools, close the roads, close businesses, close everything down. And if there's a blizzard warning, hang on, you're not going to school all week.
Right.
Something like that. I mean, here, a blizzard warning, we could be out of school. There'd be no school for 2-3 days. Nobody would be able to go anywhere.
Yeah, we issue wind chill warnings. I think it says negative 18 degrees or colder, and a wind chill advisory is issued. Let's see, cold temperatures and brisk wind causing hazardous wind chills of 0 to negative 17.
I'd want to take a wind chill of 0. I think we never had a wind chill above 0 all of January.
What would you rather have, extreme cold or excessive heat?
Extreme cold, definitely.
He's a New Yorker. He would
That's
rather
right.
have.
He's got it. I'm cold-blooded.
Yeah, well, we found out where he's not going to take a job. He's not going to go to Phoenix, El Paso, Albuquerque, probably Palm Springs, although somebody, if they paid him, he'd probably go there. Las Vegas, he wouldn't go there because then in the summer he'd be like, it's 106 today. Dew point is like 4.
No,
I mean, that's about the only good thing. The dew point's 4.
Yeah. That's what's been kind of, very nice for me, at least here in West Tennessee, is experiencing more severe weather than I was used to growing up. Has been great. So I'd be game for trying all kinds of weather. So bring it on.
You want to move to Hawaii?
That would be fun.
No, yeah. All you have to do is just put down 80 degrees every day, rain in the afternoon. Goodbye.
Go to the beach.
But then you'd say, well, then you'd have, because Tennessee, where you are, you could have snowstorms, ice storms, severe weather, tornadoes. You could have everything, earthquakes.
Yeah. Because
of New Madrid, but all we get is, we don't get earthquakes. If we get one, we're excited and everybody freaks out or something. The last one we felt, an earthquake, several years ago. And I felt it somewhat. And it was centered like 250 miles away in Illinois, and I'm like, oh, that's nice.
Weather keeps us busy here, for sure. I mean, we don't always deal with them. It depends on the year, but we won't always deal with like a tropical storm or something like that comes on land. Like I mentioned, Isaac, that still affected us. Still spawns some tornadoes. So.
Speaking of that, that'll be the last topic we get into with the thing. How do you think the tropics are going to be? The GFS has been saying there's going to be this tropical system in the Gulf for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's either moving to, I'm sorry to interrupt, it's either moving to Louisiana, moving to Florida, moving to Alabama, moving somewhere, so.
It'll get here when it gets here.
I watched, there was nothing on TV this morning. I sort of like the Weather Channel, and I sort of don't. We all have our opinion on that. And I was watching, they did their tropical update, and I can't remember what their hurricane specialist is. It wasn't Brian Norcross, it was someone else. But
it was the other person.
They were showing the GFS and the Euro side by side, and they have the GFS showing a big low pressure system coming up the Gulf. Yeah. And the Euro just has high pressure and sunny skies.
Yeah.
Which model, thinking of that, Tom, do you like the most of all of them?
I've been in touch with a lot of meteorologists who like to call GFS stands for good for storms. So, I don't know.
That's true for summer.
Yeah, probably. So.
I personally, the GFS is overall a good solution.
The GFS is good any other time. The NAM is terrible. Is the NAM the one that's terrible in winter? Henry, because I can't remember.
The NAM, I don't use the NAM often in the winter. I just use it with severe weather. The GFS is the solution, along with pretty much the GFS is the best in the winter, and you can mix that in with all the short-term modeling solutions.
Yeah.
But the Euro, the Euro is pretty good to blend with something. You could blend the NAM and the Euro pretty well with severe weather events. Same with the GFS and the Euro during winter weather events. I mean, the GFS loves to kind of overhype some events, if you want to put it. And the NAM is kind of like that with severe weather. Typically, it's all right, but sometimes you'll get and then you'll have times when it's pessimistic, and you just got to do your normal thing. Look at the ensembles, you know.
Yeah. I like our in-house model. It does pretty well with, I mean, everyday stuff, too.
Your fancy-mancy Baron model?
Yeah.
Henry doesn't like Baron.
Oh, good God. Don't get me started on that.
Bob Barron will not be a guest, according to him.
So do you use Baron for all your graphic solutions, or do you...
We use all Baron. We had, let's see, once upon a time we had AccuWeather, but I wasn't I wasn't here for that. I've only been here.
Good. If you would have still had AccuWeather, I would have.
I want to see if he's going to tell us about the BTI or the VTI or whatever Baron uses for tornado index.
Yeah, we use.
What's the highest one that you've ever seen?
Probably in the 8 range, somewhere between 8 and 9.
You haven't seen anything.
The Baron Threat Index. Good grief.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's cool. I've seen 10s.
Sorry, but
I mean, it's a great product. I mean, sometimes it can be misleading because, like, for example, yesterday we had a severe weather event where we had damaging wind gusts in Covington, just north of Memphis. There was a 71-mile-an-hour wind gust, and yet there were BTI markers, despite there obviously not being any tornadic rotation. There was just some very, like, the signatures may have indicated rotation, but we knew there wasn't because it was just a wind event, and it was still indicating BTI values of 4 or 5. So it was something you have to just still be very cautious on, and that's the job of the meteorologist. It's to interpret things like that.
The shear markers and the attribute icons, I mean, those are good to see where it pretty much tells you, hey, look at this area, something may be going on. And I mean, it's up for the meteorologist or forecaster to decide on not, like, if it's actually rotation or not. It just tells you, I mean, gives you a heads up saying that something may be going on here, take a look. I mean, there's no perfection in those icons whatsoever.
That's just I mean, it's just programmed that way. I've loved it. I've loved Baron and their graphic systems every part of the way. So, to each his own. If you
for North Central Iowa, we all use WSI and Weather Central. So.
I think the entire state of Iowa uses WSI.
Baron
well,
is
actually.
Fun.
No, I'm going to have to go against that because I know that at least one station in Des Moines uses Baron for some graphics because we had a...
KCCI, I bet.
Is it KCCI? John McLaughlin?
Yeah.
Because I met him at a conference in September.
Because they have their own radar. Yeah, there's 2 media radars in Des Moines. Why do we need 3 radars pretty much near the same location in Des Moines? Why can't you just use the NextRad? Why do you feel the need to have
because their radar only goes at half-degree angle all the time, and they get a sweep like in some cases, every 30 seconds.
WHO and KCC.
I'm waiting for them to say, well, we're going to have a beam every 5 seconds.
I'm waiting for the next Super Duper Doppler 4000 in Memphis. I'll make sure to get on that and credit me with the name for that. I hope you name it Super Duper Doppler 4000.
Yeah.
Good grief. Yeah, but literally the KCCI and WHO radars are pretty much
right next to
near each other.
Oh wow.
Maybe they need to like.
Maybe they bounce their beams off each other's radar and mess each other's radars up.
Have you ever heard of running rabbits, Tom?
I have not, no.
Wow. Well, pretty much what that is, it's when another radar interferes with another one, and you can get these little streaks. I'll show a link here.
Yeah. Show that because that happened. Where you have the weird thing is when one beam hits a radar beam from another weather service office and it causes craziness. It very rarely it happens at least a few times a day, but
yeah, I must have been asleep in that classroom remote sensing then.
Nate's gonna come and change your grades.
Well, anyway, this is pretty much what running rabbits is. If you can see these little spikes here along the side, I'm guessing
I've seen that before. Yep.
I'm guessing this is probably from the Quad
It's
Cities.
Omaha. It's Omaha's radar, I think, hitting Lincoln, Illinois' radar. Because the way it's bent in that direction, it's bent toward Lincoln. So it's going toward the Central Illinois office.
And this is the ROC's take on it. It pretty much just have two radars interfering. It doesn't happen often.
That's Frederick's radar in Oklahoma interfering with, I believe, St. Angelo.
Gotcha.
I'm good. I know my radars.
Now I know what it's
still
called.
doesn't help me because I got weeded out because of calculus, but darn. Okay, Henry, do you want to do the shout-outs? Because this poor man has to work.
Well, of course. All right, I'll start with that.
Okay, because I got to go get my shout-out. So.
This is Weather Message. It's a great. If you want to buy it, just so you know, buy the one. This one. One server, 50 connections. It's wow. That's actually cheaper than it was for me. Screw that. Well, yeah. So it's $55, and buy this one. It pretty much gives you all the stuff with it, and what it all does, it lets you do a map, and you can FTP that to a website, which Baron, I'm sure, already does that. Yeah, it has a lot of capability. And a few screenshots. You get a message client, so it pops up. It's very quick. I mean, you can integrate other things with it if you have your own satellite for NOAA port and WeatherWire. You can integrate that too, but it's really quick, and you can just view all these different. I don't use any of these graphics things. I already have that built in, but the maps and the server different things. It's good for giving your different outlets all information in one place, so you don't have to have like 1 billion different tools for multiple services. So yeah, that's mine.
Very cool.
Okay, I found mine. This has nothing to do with weather. I just decided to do. Well, it kind of does, but anyway, I decided to do this. This is a 3-book series. It has nothing to do with weather, except it kind of does at the end. There's this first book, which I'll hold up. It's called Jackson, but it has nothing to do with Jackson, Tennessee.
Jackson, Mississippi?
No, it is a fake town. It's based off of Dubuque in Iowa. This is book 1. This has nothing to do with weather, but there is a weather person in this entire storyline.
Very cool.
There's book 2, which is this, which has snow in it. Isn't that lovely? Then there's book 3, and this one does have weather, and it's very weather insensitive. River Rising. It talks about flooding, where the weather, and I'm gonna spoil it, where the meteorologist gets killed in the book.
Oh gosh.
So I just
scandalous meteorologist.
And of these 3 books right here, these are the 3 books. The meteorologist that was based, that they used, the person who based it, the meteorologist that was used was none other than Tim Heller, who's in Houston.
Nice.
At the time when this book was being written, the guy who was writing this was living in Dubuque, and that's where Tim Heller was at the time doing weather.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
All right, Tom, who's your shout-out?
I'm trying to do a screen share again, but I'm probably going to mess it up.
He's going to give us the inside scoop on his passwords for Viper.
No, you can't see that, can you? It's just a black screen. Oh, well. It's probably because I have my monitor set up to do like a dual thing right now since I'm on.
We saw it briefly, and then it disappeared.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
We're going to go back and look at Viper so we can get the inside scoop on it.
So you can
see, there it is. Emirates US Open something that.
Great site.
This is my shout out because this is what I'm currently immersing myself in since I am preparing to take the Certified Broadcasting Meteorologist exam sometime in fall. So that is going to be my goal for the next few months.
It was weather prediction Habby hints from
from Jeff Havey, the meteorologist Jeff Havey. So
that's it. Yeah.
Great site. I go to that all the time.
Yeah, and I think it's great because it's just a free site where you can just learn so much about weather. So
and there's a ton of stuff on that site.
It's great. It's wonderful. So I'll be continuing to immerse myself in that.
We expect good grades for your CBM.
That's right. We get them.
Alrighty, we might as well do the sign off here. You can contact us all. I'm available at Henry C. Luker _WX. It's not Henry Clucker. I have to emphasize that.
Yes, I'm saying it's Clucker.
It's Henry C. Luker _weather. Jeff, you can find him at Iowa WX. Tom, you can find him at WBBJ7 Tom Miners.
Yep.
And we'll have it all up on the post on the website once we're done with this. And
Which
then
I'm not doing. Henry does a better job of it.
Upcoming guests for the next couple weeks, Dan Goff. Jeff probably has a better description for him. He'll be on Friday, June 20th.
Cool.
And then our first weather service person.
Friday, June 27th, Tim Halbach, a lead forecaster.
He's the senior forecaster. I looked it up. He's the senior forecaster.
Lead forecaster, senior forecaster.
He's old. And then I looked him up. He's the same age as I am.
He is a senior forecaster at the NWS in La Crosse. He's a great guy. He was the guy that made up the NWS La Crosse, pretty much a parody of the winter storm names. They are winter storm cheese names. So he has a special name or a special cheese name for every winter storm that they name.
When is Jackson, Tennessee going to get winter storm Gouda?
But yeah, that's our show tonight.
Tom can start naming them. Sorry to interrupt. He can start naming them after like railroads or Casey Jones memorabilia or something.
Or after the names of our local farm team from the Seattle Mariners, or of our baseball players. Who knows?
Oh, good.
By then they'll be not there because they'll be moved up to AAA because that's the West Tennessee is AA, right?
We've got AA Jackson Generals. Yep.
Yeah. Used to be known as the West Tennessee.
We had Jackson. We had the Jackson Diamond Jacks before that.
The Diamond Jacks. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. We went off topic, but that's
impressive.
Henry, you can continue.
Alrighty, that's our show for tonight. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks Tom for being on the show tonight. It was a great honor to have such a legend, Tennessee legend on Polygon tonight.
More like a legend in the making.
Yep.
For Jeff and I, thanks again for watching. God bless. Have a great weekend. Hopefully it doesn't rain.
Oh, great Father's Day weekend. So it's Father's Day weekend this weekend.
Shout out to Dad.
Okay. Bye-bye. So long. Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye. So long to you and you and you and you. Okay. Nice. Thanks, Tom. Henry's already gone, but okay.
Nice talking to you.
Okay. Bye.
See ya.